Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. So today we're going to be looking at graduations. So we're with our one length haircuts. We're coming straight down at 0 degrees of elevation. When we're coming through with a layer look, we're coming anything from 90 straight off the head and anything up. That's all going to be our layering. And our graduation is going to work from anything from 1 degrees up to 89, so it's going to be anything from here. So my typical degrees of graduation is going to be 45 when I'm working on a graduated look. However, this may vary depending on the hair's texture and the hair's density. This will also depend on the look that you want to achieve. So for instance, if you want a more of a dramatic, stronger graduation look, when you're coming through your vertical graduation, you could hold your fingers maybe a bit higher. The more I drop my fingers, and so I'm dropping my comb here, you can see this is going to create more weight, so this area is going to be more heavy. So it purely depending on what you want your end result to look like. Okay, so there are many ways that we can go around doing our graduation. So we can either go by, first of all, putting in our weight lines. That would be our outline shape. So we may decide to first of all cut in that kind of bob line first of all, and then once we've got our line in place, we can then graduate from that line. The other option is if we can go straight in, start our graduation first of all, and then we can refine afterwards. So once we've dried the hair into place and put the hairline in. For the sake of today, we're going to be doing it from a line. So we're going to go through and put our one length in there first of all, and then we're going to go through with our graduation. So it doesn't necessarily mean that one method is better than the other. It's depending on your outcome that you want to achieve. But whilst you're learning, it's probably a safer, easier option to start this way. So we need to find out where our guest is going to be wearing their hair. Is it to one side, is it into the middle? So we've sectioned this up today into the middle. I've taken my very first section here, and now I'm going to cut my guide in. It's important when I'm working above the shoulder, I can't come in and use my fingers because this is going to cause unwanted graduation. So we're going to be coming in two ways. We can either come in this way using our fingers working against the skin with more tension. We're going to be using a freehand technique through the comb, just because this allows us to truly assess what that hairline is and what the hairline looks like. So we're going to come down with our comb, much like we were doing below the shoulder, and we're going to cut through the comb. Shape-wise, we're going to be using something that's triangular. So what's going to happen is with our graduation, everything's going to come back into the middle. But first of all, we're going to go through with our outline shape. So usually I'd always work this way across, but just for the camera, I want you to be able to see. So that's my first section. I'll check that's even. So my guide is now on the underneath. So I'm going to use this to carry on working up the head. Always be ensure with your body position that you're working directly to your section, so don't move your body around. I'm moving my body around today just so you can see for the camera, but if I move my body I'm going to end up taking one side longer than the other. So usually I'll be taking my sections much smaller, but just because the hair had been previously so layered on the top, I can actually take this down all in one. But obviously usually not, because you wouldn't be able to see your guide. So whereas here you can see my guide is still very clear on that underneath section. So I'm going to repeat the same. Okay, so now I've gone through and I've cut my line through there. So it's sitting really well. I'm now going to go through and start my graduation. So when it comes to starting with my graduation, the higher I start up the head, the more weight that's going to be kept in the bottom of this haircut. So for example, if I were to start my graduation lower, so my first section being through here, I'm going to have less of a weight line on the outline shape of my line. So I first of all need to decide how much of a bob kind of a shape do I want to achieve first of all before I start with my graduation. If I come through with a horizontal form of graduation, this is going to give me much more weight. So I need to decide first of all how heavy I want my graduation. Usually speaking, you would start around the occipital bone, coming to the back of the ear. And then we're going to start our first section in the very middle. So this is my weight, which I wouldn't want to cut. That's my outline shape. So I'm going to start here. And I decided my angle of graduation I want to go. So just note that this here is my length. This is my graduation. So I'm starting off vertical. And then I'm going to start to slightly take my sections diagonal. So as we can see, we're starting off in the middle, taking our vertical section, and then as we're moving across the head, our sections become more and more diagonal. And as we move across the head, we become more and more diagonal to eventually almost a horizontal plane. I'm going to wet that down. Use the wider part of my comb just to see how that's sitting. And repeat the same on the other side. My guide here is really clear. If I drop my fingers, my guide isn't clear. If I lift my fingers too much, my guide isn't clear. So I have to make sure that I'm working on that same angle. Ensure when you're working across the head not to lift or drop your fingers. cross-check the hair by coming through the opposite way to how you cut it. So example here, we're coming through horizontally to cross-check for both diagonal and vertical graduation. Key note here, when I am doing my cross-checking, again, I need to be on the same angle. So if I cut it at this angle, I need to do the same when I'm doing my checking. If I was to, again, lift this too high when I'm doing my cross-checking, it won't be clear. So it has to be on the same angle. I'm going to then continue working up the head. So my sections now, from size-wise, they'll be wider and thicker than they would be if I was doing a one length, or I'm taking much smaller sections. So if you notice here, as I'm coming around to the other side, the kind of size they are. If you have taken your section too wide, you're going to notice this when you try to join your previous section. So if we can see here, my previous guide is there. Turn that a little bit more that way so you can see. So starting vertical. So keeping my fingers, very important that they're the same angle to blend those two. If I lift it incorrectly or if I drop it too much, I will then get the step. So I've almost got to try and picture this as like I'm trying to line up two pieces of paper perfectly. Joining those two in, I'm not cutting the hair from the underneath, I've already cut that. So that's a very important thing. Don't start cutting into what you've already cut. Repeat the same on the other side. So I'm going to continue with my sections working from a triangular shape. So it's going to come from shorter here into longer at the front. And everything is over directed back, because the idea is what we want to achieve here is keep the weight on this outline shape of the bob here, because we want it to be shorter in the back, going longer into the front. So because we've already cut our length from there already, we've already blended that, so we don't need to worry too much. So all we're doing now is just trying to join in this back into these sides. You can see that weight I'm slowly building up through there. And so always come through with the wider part of your comb and just sort of tap the hair back on itself, just so you can check to see how that shape is forming. So I love graduation because you can really start to build up that weight and really play with shapes in the hair. Great for curly hair looks as well. Love graduation on curly hair because you can really kind of build up the curls into this section. So continue working diagonal sections back. I've already cut my sides, so I'm realistically just trying to over direct now everything back as I have been to blend in that graduation to the sides. Repeat the same on the other side. And then we're going to take our last section down. So remember, the key with these sides, and the key with graduation is that the more we lift the hair, the softer it's going to be, and the more we drop our fingers, the heavier it's going to be. So we don't want this soft in the side because we still want some that kind of overall bob shape through there. So everything is directing back to this to this line here. That's why it's always safer that we do our outline shape first for the whole thing. So very important, I must keep that shape this way. Repeat the same on the other side. Visually checking where the hair is sitting. I'm now going to dry this into place and then check that over at the end. I'm going to go through today with a wrap drying technique because I don't want to create too much volume and lift through here because I want to check how this graduation is going to be sitting. So I can get some natural sort of root movement through it, but I don't want to create too much just because I want to see how the hair is going to fall. Okay, so here's my finished result. So I did my blow dry using a wrap dry with a flat brush, and then I just went through and beveled those ends under. Now we just need to go through and cross check that that's all sitting properly. So I can see a little bit of my outline shape just through here I need to tidy up. I'm actually really happy with the way that's sitting. I don't think I really need to particularly come through and personalise that. But you can see my weight area from what I've built up is sort of sitting around here. If I wanted to, so if I was working on hair type, which is particularly thick, heavy density, or there was a bit too much hair through there in that weight, I could actually just come through and lightly lift the hair. So I'd find where the weight line is. So say for instance through here. And I could just very lightly come through and point cut just to remove that, but I'm actually really happy with that shape, so I don't really feel like it needs it. But say if this was someone with slightly more thicker hair, it may not be sitting quite so nicely through there. And there's my end result. Thanks very much for watching.